Does the Utah Jazz roster have any self-creation? And what does it mean for the lineup? Next on Locked on Jazz.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I am David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps and YouTube. Thank you for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. Today's show is brought to you in part by our friends over who today on this Tuesday by FanDuel. That's right. By our good friends over at FanDuel, bring you today's show. New customers get $5. Bet, you win, you get $300. Go to FanDuel.com. To the everydayers, you're the greatest. Thank you so much. And by the way, you are now listening to the number one sports podcast network in the country. Thank you for creating that. All right, here's on today's show. Ron Boone rejoins us. We have a lot of fun on what our lineups are. My big question of we only need three of these guys to hit. Who are they that make it? We'll do that with Ron coming up. I was listening to what we're going to start with is self-creation. The idea that someone has to create their own shot every now and then in the NBA. Will Hardy does a great job. We run a lot of off-ball screens. We get a lot of stuff out of actions. Lauri Markkanen is the benefactor of that. Our leading scorer is Lauri Markkanen, and he has one of the highest rates of field goals assisted of anyone around. There's kind of three things we always look at. We talk about the ability to just catch and shoot. And then we talk about the ability to shoot off the bounce. And we talk particularly about the off the bounce three a great deal as a shot that if you have the off the bounce three, that suddenly will kind of allow you to do a lot of other things. That's where I'm very kind of bullish on Keyonte because that skill set is still something that's hard to come by. And it's where Walter Clayton did it more than anyone else in college. And if he can figure it out, we're in really good shape. The guys last year on off the bounce threes which is one way of thinking about self-creation was pretty limited. It's really, and then it gets even more limited when we look at self-creation some way. My thought on this, by the way, to give credit, is this came from, I was listening to Nate Duncan's preview, and they were talking about the Washington Wizards, who just don't have a lot of self-creation on their roster, and then that made me wonder if we do, and this is how I dug into this. So, just on pure off-the-bounce threes, Keyonte takes 4 of them a game, which is a lot. It's pretty good. He shot 33%, which is not great, but it's not bad. Then Clarkson took 3. Svi Mykhailiuk took 3. Colin Sexton took 2. Brice Sensabaugh took 1 at 36%. Isaiah Collier took 1 at 20%. So kind of as this roster sits on the off-the-bounce 3, which is this type of self-creation, we really only have one guy that can do it in Key. Brice won a game, maybe he'll do, but we'll see. That's 20 minutes a night. And Isaiah only won a game. Again, I've said this about Isaiah a lot. My bigger concern about Isaiah is not that he doesn't make his 3, he just doesn't take them. So I texted Nate last night, and he was nice enough. I said, what, you're talking about self-creation. It turns out it's a proprietary number that he and Seth Partnow and the Dunked on Prime members get. But if you kind of play with the concept for a second, you can go to NBA.com and you can look at touch time. And it's not ideal. I would probably like more touch time on this. But if you look at times in which a player on our roster last year had the ball for more than 2 seconds. Okay, 2 seconds, a long time, actually. It's that long, in fact, which is kind of a long time in the NBA. Defense is going to close on you. So if you have it for 2 seconds or longer, you better create it. Here's what's interesting. Last year, shots taken by our guys per game with the ball for more than 2 seconds. Colin Sexton, 6, not on the roster. Jordan Clarkson, 5, not on the roster. John Collins, 5, not on the roster. That's 16 self-creation shots a game that left our roster. Then there's Keyonte at 4.6. And even on Keyonte, of those threes that we just mentioned ago, that were cases in which he had the ball in his hand. And this is, by the way, between 2 and 6 seconds because the NBA doesn't break this out anymore. There's also 6 plus 6 seconds. So let's add this on for a second. Let me back off before we go to Keyonte. Let's back this on. Colin Sexton has another 4. Jordan Clarkson has another 4, another 3. And Svi Mykhailiuk has another 2. I don't think, Svi's on the roster, but I don't think he's going to be a guy. Okay, so you start to add this up. And now those are basically possessions with more than 2 seconds. Sexton had 10 a game. Clarkson had 8 a game. John Collins had 5 a game. And then Svi Mykhailiuk, kind of surprisingly, has 5 a game. Again, and John Collins stays at his 5, as I mentioned, I think. Again, that's 28 possessions of self-creation that are off the roster. So who do we have that can self-create? Well, Keyonte is really the one guy. Last year, Keyonte George, on possessions in which he had the ball for more than 2 seconds, last year was 9 times a game. Now, I'm not sure he's good at it yet, right? Like in a little less than 9, when he had the ball for over 6 seconds, which is a long time of dancing, he shot 33%. And when he had it otherwise for 2 seconds to 6 seconds, he shot 42%. He basically made about 3.5. He made about 3.3 shots on 8.5 attempts. If you want me to do that math, I can do it for you, but it's about 40%. Okay, so he's not great at it yet, but he's our one guy that has any self-creation. Lauri is the next step. He took 3.6 shots a game, not very much for a guy who's high volume, in which he had the ball between 2 and 6 seconds, and then literally doesn't take any shots if he has the ball for over 6 seconds. Like, that's just not Lauri's game. So he gets the ball, jabs at you a few times, tries to figure 1 or 2 dribbles, and he's not great at it. He shoots 22% on threes on that and 43% overall. And then Isaiah Collier, about 3 times a game, probably when he goes coast to coast. Brice Sensabaugh, maybe 3 times a game. So where does our self-creation come from this year? And I think it gets really interesting into lineups. It's where I keep coming back to the idea that I really think Keyonte's got to play a major role in this team. He's got to have a good year, and this is his chance. I mean, we'll talk to Ron about it some more, but I keep going back to, I know Key came off the bench last year and everyone loved it. I don't know how you don't have Key in the starting lineup on a roster that doesn't have a lot of self-creation. The other thing is, I think it's going to be really hard for us to sit there and tell Ace Bailey to have controlled shot selection and some of those things on a roster where there's not a lot of self-creation. I do think that Clayton Jr.'s got some, and we'll see, but the 2 rookies can self-create. And it'll be interesting to see whether they have to force a ton of self-creation to be able to get there. And then that's going to lead to low shooting percentages. But this is a real thing about this roster. We lost 28 shots of self-creation last year. Tip of the hat to Nate Duncan for tipping off that thought. Ron Boone joins us next, digs deep into some of our conversations about the Jazz as we continue on Locked on Jazz. Tuesday edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by our good friends over at Murdoch Hyundai. Located at 4646 South State Street, also located in Logan and in Linden. Nothing makes me happier than when I get the email that says, hey, I'm going to go look at a Hyundai. And a few reasons it makes me happy. One is because I know you're going to have a great experience over at Murdoch. And we're going to set you up with the VIP experience to make sure any of the awkwardness of walking in and wondering who you're going to get taken care of, you're going to get the best single salesperson. We can get you with our individuals, Jaco down in Linden, Scott, and Murray. And we'll get you set up with those guys one-on-one, all taken care of before you get there so that everything runs smoothly, the VIP experience. And then you get to experience the Hyundai. I'm driving the Santa Fe hybrid right now. It's amazing. We have 3 Santa Fe's in the house. We've also got the Ioniq 5. My dad just bought the Ioniq 6. We're in. It's been a fabulous addition and they've all been terrific. Go. So if you're going to check out car right now, include Hyundai on the list and email me first at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. That's 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot, the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. That's right. 2-ounce shot is the same of a 12-ounce cup of coffee. So it's portable. It's tiny. It's right there for you. It gives you the boost without the bonk. Enjoy the new 2-ounce shot packs. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give you caffeine in a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new. Go online at 5hourenergy.com or check out Amazon today. Different day, different outfits. Did we record on the same day or different? Oh, and a new damn golf shirt from Ron Boone.
Brand
we
new.
don't allow profanity on this show.
Yeah, but that's a different type of profanity.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's dig back in. We had a really good first day of conversations. If you didn't catch it, go back and grab it. I'm bullish on Keyonte. I just feel like I've always felt this way, Ron. You've heard me probably say this 100 times. Year one in the NBA, player comes in, he thinks he's got everything. You're the one who always says it. Like now everyone's got a basketball card that's just as good as yours. But they come in, like Keyonte came to the NBA, and he thought he was going to be an NBA All-Star, average 24 points a game. And he gets his you-know-what handed to him.
Right.
And he goes back to the offseason, and he works on all the same stuff that he got handed to him. And he thinks he's going to score 24 points a game and be an NBA All-Star again. And he comes, and this happens to everyone. And they get their handed to them again in the exact same fashion. And it's between year 2 and year 3 where they come back and say, oh, I got to figure out how I'm surviving in this league, not how I'm going to be an NBA All-Star. Walker did it. And Walker came back, was an offensive rebounding force, a rim force defensively. He ran the floor. He was a totally different player. I think we're going to see the same thing from Keyonte. It's going to be more subtle shot selection. Better getting to the rim more often, drawing more fouls, not forcing up silly shots just because he can get them off. Like, I think we're going to see a totally different player on the offense, and I think he's going to defend because I think he understands the 3 doors I just talked about.
Okay,
so I'm bullish on Keyonte. What do you expect to see in Keyonte year 3?
Okay, now this is what year was this going into for Keyonte? What year?
3.
This is year 3. The average lifespan in NBA players what?
Like 5.5 or 4. Yeah, right.
4 years. Yes. So this has to be a good year for him. So I totally agree with you. If he's not going to be one of those guys that just get 4 years, or if he's going to be one that hangs on to a team as a 8-9 position mat guy or something like this. So I totally agree with you that this should be that year where he steps up. And now he's showing us he definitely belongs.
All right. Oh, sorry. Thought you were done.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So Tyler Snar has a website called, remember Mike Snar, his son, has a website called Dunks and 3. He used to work for the Jazz in analytics. Pretty good at this. And it ranks defensive players. It ranks everyone. But it also has a rank for defense players. And last year, I believe Keyonte George and Corey Kispert were the 2 worst defensive players in the entire NBA.
Wow.
Can Keyonte George play defense?
David, you're asking someone that he can play defense, but for how long?
Okay, so let's back up for a second. What is playing defense in the NBA?
I think for the amount of time that you have to stay in front of a guy, and I forget the number, I'm sorry, but I forget the number that coaches kind of rely on players being able to play solid man-on-man defense for, 5 seconds, 3 or 4 seconds, 5 seconds, somewhere in there. And I think that should be the key on if he can do that, because you got a 24-second clock, and then you have and if you're assigned to play a guy that plays with the ball in his hands, and he could do it very, very well, can you stay and defend this guy for 3 or 4 or 5 seconds? And I think that's going to be the big question there for Keyonte. And if he does that, then yes, his defense will definitely improve.
Okay. So back to what we expect. Do you expect him to become? What do you think he can do this year? This is going to get kind of our final question of the day. It's going to be like, which of these guys? But what do you think he can do?
I think 13, 14 points a ball game with him coming off the bench is going to be his game. And I think he's going to be good at it. I think he got a taste of eliminating some of the pressure of being a starter. And the big thing, David, is that when you're a starter, you're playing against other starters. And are they better than you or stronger than you or anything like that? And the other thing is, how much has he learned in the last couple of years?
See, that's what's interesting. Back to our conversation we had yesterday on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I actually want him to start because I want to see him play other starters.
Okay.
I do think he had a little bit of a better year last year. For example, his free throws went from 3 a game to 4.5, which is a lot.
Yeah.
He was also playing in the bonus more because he's coming off the bench. Lou Williams, figured that out. That's a little bit of an easier way to do it. I kind of don't want anything easy for Key this year. I want to see him thrive playing the best guys.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that now there's a number of players, and you can name, I'm sure we can go down the list and find a lot of players that had great careers coming off the bench and for the most part, sometime getting starter minutes, but getting those years. But the big thing is, can you be productive when you're out there on the floor? If you get 15 minutes a game, how productive are you out there? Can Keyonte do those things? I know you want to see him as a starter, but I'm talking about just time where he can start and not get starter minutes.
He played 31 minutes a game last year, right?
Right. So that's what's going to be very, very important for him there.
Be interesting to see. He played 35 games as a starter, 32 as reserve, and the numbers were slightly different, but not demonstratively different. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, Kyle.
What we saw with him was his ability to get to the free throw line, wasn't it?
Yeah, he took 161 free throws in 32 games off the bench, and he took 120 free throws in 35. So yes, he took an extra free throw game coming off the bench. I think that's because when you're playing at the end of the first and third quarters, you're playing against teams in the bonus. But that's great. That doesn't. There's actually I got a bunch of numbers too that kind of tell me Keyonte's going to be okay. And the other one on Keyonte, just the commitment. He's been here all summer. He's dialed in. He's working. He's got a great coach in Chris Jones. I just think there's a lot of things heading in the right direction there.
Yeah.
Kyle Filipowski had a monster summer league.
Yes, he did.
I actually think he might have been the best offensive rookie in the NBA last year. I still have zero idea what position he plays defensively, though I'm not sure it totally matters because he can't play drop big. So therefore he's switching. So maybe it doesn't matter. What do you think we see out of Kyle Filipowski this year?
I think you'll get a lot out of him. I think his confidence level really, really picked up during the course of the year, and the minutes that he was out there on the floor really, really helped. And I think he showed us, especially when he started to get those extended minutes, that he was not supposed to be the 32nd, is that right? 32nd player picked in the draft. I like him playing, maybe not starting at the beginning of the year, but I like him playing a ton of minutes and important minutes. But I think he's going to be good.
You know what's interesting? Back to the kind of crazy conversation we had the other day. We don't know what Taylor's going to be able to do.
True.
But I do think Yusuf Nurkic is going to play. I think he's good. He's a solid backup NBA center. I actually think you can have all this youth in the world on the floor, but you actually have to have some semblance of order. I'm not totally convinced Kyle's a defensive 5. I think the question is whether he can play the 4. So if he plays the 4, then it gets really crowded there. to
He
some
really
extent.
brought it, yeah.
So that is where then suddenly the Ace Bailey 2 thing comes back into play, because if Taylor and Kyle are your 4s and Lauri's your 3 with Cody Williams, then you probably need Ace Bailey to play some 2. Like, it's an interesting little, like, this is what's fascinating to me about this season is, like, I just don't, how Will uses the combinations, and then you alluded to it, like how much they're going to change game to game or week to week or month to month. But you're right. I mean, Kyle, the question on Kyle that I think is most interesting, back to him for a second, Ron, is I think his 3-point shooting percentage was 35% last year. He never shot 35% for 1 minute all season. He either had a long stretch where he shot 18%, then he shot like 54%, and then he closed the year shooting like 16%. And you conglomerate all of them together and you get 35%, but he actually never shot 35% at any point all year.
Okay, let's start looking at positions here. Because
all right, let's do it.
If you start looking at Filipowski playing behind Lauri.
Okay. What do you have? Not that it really matters because we're positionless at this point, but you have Lauri playing the 3 or the 4?
I have Lauri playing the 4.
Okay.
Okay. Now you have Sensabaugh, who can probably move to the 2.
Yep.
I think Ace Bailey can move to the 2 and the 3.
Okay.
I know you like the same there. Now, Hendricks, he's going to have to earn something here. I mean, it's not like, okay, Hendricks is back. His body looks good. He's going to have to learn and develop, and the coach is going to have a lot of confidence in him at the beginning of it. But
if he plays, what position is he?
Does the coaches like the competition on who's going to do what and who's having a great camp and who's going to demand playing time? Because there is such a thing as playing well enough to where, coach, look at me. I'm demanding this time. I'm playing hard. Put me on the floor. We'll see who steps up and gets it done.
It's a little bit what Kyle did last year when he got minutes.
They're perfect example. He has something to prove. I'm not a 32nd pick in the draft. I don't know what you guys was thinking, but I'm going to show you that I'm worthy.
Ron Boone leads us to an interesting thing. The quote we keep getting from Justin Zanuck and Austin Ainge is we're going to let Will Hardy coach this year. What does that mean? What do they mean that they're going to let Will Hardy coach this year? We'll touch on that when we continue here on Locked on Jazz. Today's edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL season is here. Hopefully you've been in on the action and having fun with it already. College football as well. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So whether it's an over-under or a parlay, make every game fun and exciting when you're watching, or just keep an eye on your fantasy lineup. Or, as I heard one of our hosts say, he always bets the opposite of his fantasy, so he always guarantees himself a win. That is thinking it at a high level. It's quick, it's easy, it's the best way to add a little energy and a little juice to your Saturdays and Sundays. It's FanDuel.com. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So I suggest you find a bet that's going to win. Go to FanDuel.com. They say they're going to let Will Hardy coach this year. I don't know what that means. I think he was coaching really well the last few years. One of the things I think is most impressive by him is how much the team improves quickly, like he sees them and then he adjusts. And I'm excited to watch what he does this year. What do you think his approach is going to be this year with this seemingly lineup of 8 guys? There's 7 guys that are still 8 guys really that are looking to establish themselves in the NBA.
Okay, so if you look at last season and the combinations that were put out there on the floor and how Will was trying to play guys extended minutes, but still be that coach that's demanding this and that out there on the floor. Management wanted to see certain players. I mean, the draft was going to be very important for them this year, so they wanted to see what players looked like there was a future with this basketball team. And so it sounds like now we put together a very young team with a few veterans, and see if you can win some basketball games. So Will right now has the luxury, and maybe luxury is not the right word to be using it, but he does have, in other words, if they're saying that, they're not going to be telling him, okay, we need to look at this player, we need to look at that player, and go out and win some basketball games. That's Will, good luck.
Yeah, I don't think our win total is going to be particularly high with this group. All right, here's what I think is interesting, Ron. Let me walk you through this. We haven't talked about this. But if you look at how, and it seems to be that Austin Ainge just kind of laid this out there in some conversations. The way I'm reading our building process right now, okay, is that we have Ace Bailey. We're going to draft another top 5 guy next year, probably, based on our record. Probably another one, maybe the year after. Those 3 guys, 2 of them got to hit. Then you have Lauri into the mix. Then you have Walker into the mix. That's 4 guys right there. They're your kind of core 4 guys. Yeah. You now probably have enough free agent money and other things. You acquire a 5th player. So of these 7 guys, Keyonte, Brice, Taylor, Isaiah, Kyle, Walter Clayton Jr., and I've forgotten someone because I only have 6 right there, and there's a 7th, but you got the Cody Williams. Did I say Cody
Williams?
We really only need 2 or 3 of them to hit as like rotation players for us 3 years from now. We don't actually need all 7 to hit. Like if they do, that's great. If 5 of them hit, then you're going to trade 2 of them to get one of those pieces that match your roster and get a veteran to get you older and better. But again, out of Keyonte, Brice, Taylor, Cody, Kyle, Isaiah, and Walter Clayton Jr., we probably only need 2 or 3 of them to really hit. Who do you think are the most likely 2 or 3 at this time? This can all change. These are young players. We are not going to put a stamp on who they are. But at this time, who would be your guess of the most likely 2 or 3 players to be rotation players on the Jazz playoff team in 3 or 4 years?
In 3 or 4 years. You're putting a 3-year cap on that, and that makes more sense now because it really helps making that decision. And I think Ace Bailey is definitely one.
Yeah, he's not one of the 7. If Ace Bailey's not one of our rotation players in 3 or 4 years that's leading us to a playoffs, we're backing up.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
So Ace Bailey does not count on this list. Nice try.
So I'm also looking at Filipowski.
Okay.
I think that's 2. Now,
Ace
we haven't talked
Ace
a lot
about.
That's
not 2. That's 1.
Oh, we're just disregarding
Ace has to. Okay, Ace has to hit. Frankly,
has to hit. Okay, so we haven't talked a lot about Clayton.
Yep.
And haven't said much about him. I think if you're the one that thinks that Collier can't be that player, or you can't rely on him being out there on the floor, then I think you have to put Clayton in there.
I mean, Clayton's just such a good shooter that
I
I don't know. It's like can't play Collier, by the way. I actually just like the idea of playing Collier and Clayton together in an open floor. That's all. If I can talk to Will and he can tell me why this is a stupid idea, or talk to Scott Morrison and he'll really tell me why he thinks it's a stupid idea. But my initial instinct is Collier's strengths are driving, playing fast, playing with tenacity. They need him to be a defensive fireball. That to me seems like it would work better with a spread floor. And then Clayton, I'm not entirely sure right now if he's a 1 or a 2. So I think he's helped by being played with Isaiah, who's a primary ball handler. And you can play the 2 of them together in a second unit that has some pizzazz. That's the only thing I'm saying. But this has nothing to do with which of them is a rotation player on the roster in 3 to 4 years when we're playing a playoff game.
Okay, so here's the question. Can he play the 1? Can he be the point? Clayton?
I would think so, but honestly, I haven't seen enough of him to have any idea. Truthfully, I don't know.
Hypothetically, say he can.
Yeah.
So where does he fit with the other guys out there on the floor? Lauri and Kessler on the floor, that make him, to the point where they're not relying. Collier's going to run. And in order for him to be effective out there on the floor, he's got to be going up down the floor. You got to be running with him. Who was going to be better for the team in the half court?
So if Clayton's off the bounce, Clayton took the most off the bounce dribble threes of any player in college basketball last year, and like 80 more than anybody else who was drafted.
That
Dramatic, like huge, dramatic.
Yeah.
If that off the bounce three translates to the NBA, it's a little bit of a low release, so that's a little bit of a question. But if he can come off a pick and roll and get that off the bounce three up the way Keyonte can, which is why I'm bullish on Keyonte, that's going to be an incredible skill, because if they have to trail you and play rear contest, you can do a lot of things as a point guard in the NBA. If he could just be Peyton Pritchard, which would be fine, that's a comp. That's a very good comp for a similar player drafted by Austin. But I think, yes, if he has innate leadership, by the way, he's older than every other guy in this conversation.
4 years, huh?
He's the oldest player of the 7 we're talking about right now.
Didn't realize that. Right. Well, I had thought about that.
So, yeah, I think if his off the bounce three game translates to the NBA, then yes, he could be a starting point guard in the NBA.
Okay. So this is my argument to that. He's playing with other guys out there on the floor that he just might not need that off the bounce three off the pick and roll all the time. I mean, to the point where you're playing with Lauri. The big thing here, does Lauri turn into a player that can pass off the dribble enough to where he can help other guys? Other guys out there on the floor could help Clayton if the defense is paying more attention, to the point where Clayton could get open threes and not rely on that off the bounce three. I mean, obviously he can shoot it. He shot a lot of them. He has a lot of confidence in it, but how many of those open threes,
right.
Can he get?
So here's what's so interesting about this question about the 7, right? So Brice has the shot. Like, Brice is a knockdown 40% three-point shooter. That usually gets you to be a rotation player in the NBA.
Absolutely.
Okay. Taylor's got the body. There's not a lot that Taylor has to do basketball-wise to actually be able to become a really good NBA rotation player, whether it's Jade McDaniels or Robert Covington. He can be either of those pretty quickly with just a little bit of stuff, because his body's so awesome. Okay. Then you have Key, who we've talked about. You have Collier's got the great vision and the speed. You got Clayton, who's got the shooting. I still liked Cody Williams out of the draft. I know he had a horrendous year, but I liked the body change. I actually still believe in him. I thought there were a few plays in Summer League where he drove to the basket outstretched and didn't get just colossally thrown off his route. And if we see that in the preseason or early in the year where he's actually holding his body strength and position on a basket, I think he's got something. So I'd be, they all have this skill or two in here. And then we talk, Filipowski's offense is amazing. His passing skills, they all have a skill in here. And it's just going to be so fascinating to see which of them can figure out how to use it the best.
That's why training camp is going to be so much fun. I mean, because the competition is going to be there among players. Here's a question for you. Can you move Cody to the 2?
He doesn't handle very well right now.
Okay.
I'm not totally comfortable with Cody with the ball in his hands right now. Now, again, but
that
probably said this
really
wrong.
hurts him. You know that.
Yeah. I probably said this wrong, Ron. It's actually not which of those guys can use those skills. It's which of them can add things to their game to complement those skills so they can show those skills, and which guys can cover up their weaknesses. Like, another really telling comment from Will Hardy, he got asked about strengths versus weaknesses and what you're dealing with. And he's like, we all have weaknesses, but they cannot derail the entire offense, and they cannot derail the entire defense. You cannot be so bad defensively that every single time a team comes down the floor, they call you up and they go right at you, and your defense doesn't actually have anything to do in any structure, in any system other than protecting you. Yeah. And you can't be so bad offensively that they're either not guarding you at all when you're in the corner, they go so far under on pick and roll that you can't actually run your plays. Like, I thought that was a really insight. So maybe that's the comment. Which of these guys with this skill can find skills to complement and cover up their weaknesses so it doesn't derail their strengths?
Yeah, that is a great question. That's a great way of putting it. Boy, training camp's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. I'm excited. He is Ron Boone. He is stunningly 79 years old, ladies and gentlemen. He should write a book, not make T-shirts. If he wrote a book, Peter Attia would have to shut up because this man's actually done the longevity thing, not just talked about it. Maybe that's our business this summer, Ron. This winter, we're going to build the Ron Boone longevity story, and it's going to happen. All right. He's great. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. He's Ron Boone. He's working his 8,000th Jazz game this year. It's crazy, the numbers on it. Ron, you're the best. Thanks for the time.
All right. Take care, David.
We now stand in the first ever national 24/7 NBA channel, Locked On NBA, plus Locked On NBA every day. Still catch it on audio with Wes Goldberg, Matt Moore, and Hayes.